this is Jen from Newton's Note Designs, and today I'm going to show you a fun way to use our new jar hot foil plate. We introduced this hot foil plate with our last release. It has a hot foil plate and a coordinating die. And then when we brought this new line in, we also did fireflies in the die and some sentiments that are kind of bright themed. You way to glow, let your light shine, you bright my day, that kind of stuff. And then a die to cut those out. Today though, we're going to skip the fireflies. So we'll set those aside and we're just going to use the jar and the die. And I'm going to fill it with some flowers because I thought that would be a fun way to use this mason jar hot foil plate. So to start out, we're going to foil our jar. I'm using the Spellbinders Glimmer plate. I've just turned it on. And we've got the power light on red. When it's ready to go, it's going to turn this light to green, and then we'll know we're ready to foil. So our platform ready light is now on, so we are ready to foil. I'm going to take our jar and put it kind of in the center. And then we need some foil. I think I'm going to do silver on this one. So I'm just going to cut a piece of foil about the same size as the jar. Now, you could be more precise and do it before you lay it down there. I just forgot. But that looks like it's going to fit. And then we're going to take a piece of white cardstock and place that over the top. And then I'm going to hit the timer button. So this timer light is going to blink until it's ready. So it's going to heat up all those pieces. So now our light is solid green, so we know we're ready to foil. That just takes a little bit of time, not too long. And then I'm going to put the plate and the shim on top. And I'm just going to hold it down so that nothing moves. And you'll want to disengage it from here, so you just pull it towards you. There's a little latch there that it separates from. And then you'll take this whole thing and place it in your die cutting machine. So now that we've run it through the machine, we take the plates off and then carefully lift the paper. And then the magic part. You get to peel the foil off and see it on there. And that one foiled perfectly. Now, if for some reason you have too much pressure, you get a little bit of extra foiling on the inside, there are ways to take that off. You can use a sand eraser and just lightly rub any excess foil. But this one actually doesn't even need that. It turned out perfect. So next I'm going to take this coordinating die set and I'll add a little tape to hold it in place. A removable tape. And then I'm going to take that over to my die cutting machine and cut that out. So here we are with that piece die cut. Now these dies are exactly the same as any thin dies that go with your clear stamps. Instead they just are painted to match the foil. But there you go. There's your jar. So now we're going to fill the jar with, I'm thinking, daisies. So I protected my surface with a craft mat and I'm going to do watercoloring with a daisy. So this is our Dainty Daisy stamp set. I've already taken the daisy stamp off. But it comes with a daisy and a few different sentiments and a tiny little flower. But today we're going to use the foil sentiments. We're just going to use the image from this set. So because we're watercoloring, you just want to make sure that you use a water-friendly ink that's not going to bleed. And then I have a piece of watercolor paper. The watercolor paper does usually have a grainier and smoother side, so we'll stamp it on the smoother side just to make it a little easier to color. This is a rather large image, so if you would rather use a stamp positioning tool, such as a MISTI, to stamp your image, that is a good option too. but I'm using a block today, and it actually stamped quite well. Okay, so then I'm going to color it with these Zig Clean Color markers, and I've chosen 3 colors to use: a yellow, a green, and this is like a hazy blue. I'll put a note here so you can see what colors I'm using. And that will just use those with some water. And I have some distilled water in a little squeeze bottle with an eyedropper top here. So we'll start by adding some yellow to the daisy bottoms, or centers rather. And you don't want to cover the whole thing because you'll want to make it look watercolored by giving it a little bit of water. Then you get some lighter tones. And then for the green, I'm going to start just kind of where the darkest areas would be, where all the stems are overlapping at the bottom. This image is fairly easy to color because daisies are usually white. So that makes it pretty easy. Oh, I got onto the daisy a little there, but that's okay. We might be able to get that off. So you don't need a ton of marker. And then I'll just wipe off my brush to make sure it's not yellow on it. And then go back and do the green areas. I just love watercoloring. It's so fun and relaxing. A lot of people get discouraged with watercolor, but I think the fun part about it is it's supposed to be sort of imperfect. So don't get discouraged, just keep trying. And I think my biggest tip is don't overdo it. Like, you might be tempted to go back and add more color in, but you don't really need to. And if you make a mistake like I did there, I'll just add a little water there and dab it with the towel. And look, you can't even see it. So watercolor is supposed to be kind of loose. And now down there I might want to put a little bit more green, but instead of going directly on it, I'm going to just scribble it on the mat here. That will give me a little bit more control of the color. There we go. So if I had put the marker right in there, I might have gotten too much. That looks pretty good. All right, and then I'm going to use this blue, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to scribble it on the work mat here, and then add a little bit to my brush. Well, you know what? I didn't make sure the green is off it, so let's wipe it off. And then just a little bit to my brush to add just a tiny bit of dimension. That wasn't quite enough. To the areas of the flower closest, the petals closest to the center. That way they just have a little bit of color, even though they're white. Maybe they're reflecting the sky and have a little bit of blue haze, just to give a little dimension to the flowers. But you could certainly just leave them white too. And what I have seen people do sometimes is, instead of coloring dimension on the flowers, they might put a blue shadow behind them, like around the edges. So that's another thing you could do. But in this case, I'm going to be die cutting it out, so I don't really need much of a sky or anything behind it. Okay, that looks pretty good. I think this top green one, and then as it dries, you can kind of see if there's areas that need anything more. And I think this top green bottom turned out a little too pale, so we might add a little green to that. Let's make sure we get these outer parts. So you can't really see that much, but it does just give it a little bit of a dimension. And let's go back with that green here. Add a little more. Okay, so those are our daisies. So I'm going to die cut that out. The daisy set does have a coordinating die, so I will grab that and cut this image out. Okay, so here is our daisy image, and this die has a few little inset pieces that you can just pop out. If they stick too hard, you can use a little poker tool. That one's a little sticky to get them out, or a pin, something like that. I guess I'll get mine out. That will pop it right out. There. So that just kind of gives it a little bit, if you were to put something behind it, you can see what's behind it. So there we are with our daisy. So now we're ready to put together our card and make the pieces for our card base. So I've decided that this daisy image is a little too tall for a standard card size, like the A2 card. So it would be kind of coming up the top if we wanted to put the daisies in it. So we're going to go ahead and make a 5x7 card today. So I have a 5x7 card base cut, and then I'm going to use our A7 frames and banners die set, and I'm going to use this biggest scallop to make a nice yellow frame that fits on that card. Okay, so here's our yellow piece, so that's gonna be the next layer, and I think it needs a little bit of dimension, so I'm gonna add a little stenciling onto it. I'm going to use our Petite Flowers stencil and add some flowers along the bottom. So I think we'll start with a little bit of orange. It's a spiced marmalade. And I guess we should tape the stencil so it doesn't move. I'm just going to use a little tape on the back. That will hold it in place. And then I'm using orange along the bottom. Just kind of creating a fun floral pattern for the daisy and jar background. And then I'm going to switch and do a little bit of yellow. This is fossilized amber. Just to add kind of a fade into this yellow background. You can kind of give a peek and see if I think I could do a little bit more of that. But you could use any color you like. I'm not worrying about the center so much because we're going to cover that up. There. That was quick and easy. And now, so let's see what we got so far. I think I also want to add a little bit more behind that. So I'm going to get our oval frames die set and cut out a couple of ovals. Okay, so I think what we're going to do is take this scalloped oval and do a vellum circle. And then I want to put a circle inside it using our Spring Blooms paper pad. So here's our Spring Blooms paper pad. It's a little bit well loved and used in my craft room. And what I always do is I have these little pockets and I put pieces that are from this in the pocket so that I know what I have left from the paper pad, pieces that might be cut or slightly used. And I see this one in front with daisies on it, and I'm thinking that might be really fun to go with it. So I'm going to cut an oval out of that and an oval out of the vellum. So there we have our two ovals. So this is how I work when I'm making cards. I don't glue everything together until the very end. Just want to see how it's going to look. So that's going to look really cool. So then I think we need a sentiment. Let's do one of our hot foil sentiments. I'm always up for birthday cards, so I might use Bright Birthday Wishes. Plus it's a bright and cheerful card, so I think that would look great going across the bottom of the jar. So I brought our hot foil machine back out, and I'm waiting for it to heat up again. If I was thinking ahead, I could have done this all at the same time and foiled the sentiment while I was foiling the jar. But you know that's not how it works when you're crafting. You end up doing things more than once. Sometimes you don't know until you get to that point what you need. So when this is ready, we're going to foil Bright Birthday Wishes. And actually you can leave it on here while it's heating up. That doesn't hurt anything. Okay, so now our platform ready light is on, so we are ready to foil. I'm going to do this one with a black cardstock, and I'm going to do the silver to match the jar. We just need a small sliver of silver foil. So cut that off of our roll. And then remember the foil goes shiny side down. And then this is kind of a narrow one. See if I have a wider one, just in case. And then we don't have to worry too much about it being straight because we're going to die cut it out when it's done. So then we'll turn on the timer and just wait for that to be ready to foil. So our timer light is on, so we are ready to foil. So I'm going to do the same thing I did last time, is dislodge this and then carefully take this whole thing over to my die cutting machine and cut that out. So I've run this through the machine. I think I said cut out, but actually what I meant was to apply the foil. So we're going to carefully pick this up. And there it is. Beautiful. So now we can use the coordinating die set, Banner Duo, which has two pieces. It has a square one and a fishtail one. I think with the jar, the one with the fishtail looks a little more fun. That looks, oh, it's very close to the edge, but I think it will work. And you can see what I meant about how you didn't have to worry about it being straight or lined up, because once you cut it out with the die, that's going to fix any error that you had. So we will cut that out. And now we have a lovely sentiment. Now, if I was crafting at home, making a bunch of cards, I might actually foil all the sentiments together, or several, 2 or 3 of them at the same time, since I already have the plate heated up, and then save them for when I need to do a second card. So that's one way you could save a little time while you're foiling. All right, I think we're ready to put everything together now. So here we have all of our pieces. I think we're missing one little thing, that we need a ribbon around that jar. So I'm going to take some yellow twine and place that around the jar. Just adding a little bit of adhesive on the back with a tape runner. Grab my tiny scissor here. This is the cheat I've been doing lately because I can never seem to get the bows to line up exactly the right way that I want them. So I'll make my bows separately. Then I can have a pretty bow like that. And I'll just use a dabby of glue to add that on. But we're going to put that on at the very end so the wet glue doesn't get squished when we're assembling the other layers. So first we'll want to assemble just with a tape runner. Adding this on to the card base, and I just have a white card base. And then we'll want to kind of see, I guess right about there for that. So I'm going to add the circle onto the vellum and adhere the vellum last. And that way you know that the tape is going to be covered up by the layer that is above it. That's a good way to adhere to vellum because it's always hard to adhere it without it showing the tape behind it. All right, so we've got our daisies, background pattern, and then because I'm planning on mailing this, I don't want to add a lot of dimensions, so I think I'm just going to adhere the flowers right to the jar, and then adhere the jar right to the daisies. And then we'll need some tape on the back of the daisies too. And I'm just using Kokio dot liner to put everything together. And I think to keep it a little bit shorter, I'm gonna start there. That should fit. Oh yeah, that fits just right. So we'll add it right there. Oops, looks like I got a little adhesive on there. If that happens, you can use an adhesive remover eraser. There. Not sure how I managed that. All right, then the last thing is going to be the bow and the big birthday wishes, or bright birthday wishes rather. So I'm going to give the bright birthday wishes just a little bit of dimension. These are really thin, so they should go through the mail okay. I think if I put 3 across the back, that will hold it. Oops, that extra one. These are just little thin foam dots. Put that there. And then a little bit of glue. This is Tombow Mono liquid adhesive, but you could use any liquid glue of your choice. And then just put the bow right there. And looks like it was tied perfectly around the jar. And that is my card. I love the little addition of sparkle that the foiled jar gives, and it looks so pretty to add our flowers into the jar. I actually did create this card previously with a few of our other floral sets, so let me show you what those look like. So this one is really similar. This one uses our tulips, and this time I use gold. And the paper, again, is from the Spring Blooms paper pad. And this one with daffodils also uses gold foil. So you can see how fun it is to create different floral cards using the same card layout. And then those 3 are kind of in the same color family, but I also created this one using purples. And of course there's a cat hair on there. Always kitty hair around here. So again, this time I used silver on the jar and gold on the banner, and I used the square edged banner and our lilac stamp set. And the last one uses our roses stamp set, and this time again with the gold and the square edged banner. So you can see how you can create, and this is the one I did today, so many fun cards using like the same layout. And now I have a whole bunch of birthday cards, which makes me happy because I never seem to have enough birthday cards around here. Whenever I need a birthday, I'm like, oh shoot, I need to make a birthday card. So that is what I created today. I hope you enjoyed this idea of using our jar to hold things other than fireflies, and I hope you'll give it a try. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure to check out all these products. I'll link them below, but they will be in the floral category at newtonsnookdesigns.com. And I hope that you enjoy playing with everything and that you enjoyed this video. You can always like and subscribe to see more content when we add it. Thank you so much and have a great day.